Vibra Finance, we seek out the hidden gems in cryptocurrency. We will tailor your portfolio to work for you. Are you ready to transition your investments from traditional markets to cryptocurrency? Are your coins staked and earning interest? Are you overwhelmed with all the jargon in crypto? Is your portfolio underperforming and you want to reposition into consistent winning blue chip coins and viable projects? Do you feel like you missed out on DeFi, Metaverse, and NFTs? Here at Vibra Finance, we provide you with the data, skills, and tools you need to stay on top of the digital asset market. Vibra Finance. We are the future of crypto.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Vibra Live. Coming in early tonight, got a special guest with us. Always brings that alpha. Always great to have a conversation with my man Axis Alive.
What up, everybody? How's everyone doing? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, brother. How you been, man?
Doing good, man. Got some green candles on the RH ecosystem today, so that's obviously fire. Gotta love to have that. Seems like it's going to be quite the bull run. You got Richard calling for $240,000 Bitcoin. You got billions of dollars flowing in through the Bitcoin ETFs, and there's talk of an ETH ETF coming down the pipe. And as this conversation develops, I think it'll be interesting to talk about the speculation on what is going to be the Amazon of blockchains. Is there going to be one blockchain to rule them all, or are we going to see value flow across this multi-chain future? And we just create this deeper and deeper web of decentralized liquidity. So I'm excited to bring up a couple projects later. I know you have some projects you want to talk about, and we'll go with that.
Yeah, bro. I think the ETF, man, I think that has shocked everybody. The amount of nonstop volume coming in, and I talked about it on stream last night that yesterday was the highest volume day ever. And this many days in, it's like, what? You got to be kidding me. I don't think anyone saw this coming, and it's not going to stop from everything I see.
Yeah, it's not. It's good. So before we got to kind of see how the ETF was going to play out, you had certain people, specifically I'm targeting the RH influencers, saying that it could be a shortened cycle, that the ETF was a sell in the news event, that we were going to get cut off early, left translated cycle. And as things have kind of played out, you've seen the volume, you've seen the interest. It's clear now, we're past the inflection point, that we're actually setting up for something much, much bigger than I think anyone really expected. And the way I've been framing it for people is like, look, the last cycle from the 2017 highs to the bear market lows to the 2021 highs was basically a cycle of getting rid of all of the scam money, all the manipulation through things like BitMEX and FTX and all the leverage and all the degen. Like that all had to take its time, because the parabolic move on Bitcoin from 2015 lows to the 817 highs was so high and so big, and it affected the world economy to such a degree. It made a lot of people a lot of money, unseen in the history of mankind, basically, right? And so we needed to flush through and work through all that money and power that it gave to a whole new class of individuals and companies. And I think now that we're through that period and we are coming out of that and going into, we've been in a bull market for over a year now. Shout out to me. I called the triple bottom on the S&P in crypto on January 10th of last year. Anyway, here we are. And, the ETF wasn't a sell the news event, and we're getting like virtually the biggest volumes we've ever seen in Bitcoin. And it's just setting up now. We're basically in the beginning phases of the beginning of the parabolic move that we got in 2015. I think this cycle is going to resemble a lot more that kind of super cycle we had from 15 to 17. And we're going to get a repeat of that, but at a bigger scale with more money. And I keep looking back to the gold ETF from the early 2000s when that launched and how gold went on to do like an 8x in 10 years. And that was $1 trillion market cap already. So think about the impact of that ETF on that big asset class. And now this is a smaller asset class getting Bitcoin, OneCoin, an ETF, and seeing the volumes that it's done, the second biggest ever volume in that first trading day or week or whatever. And where this can go, it's like we might actually be getting the super cycle that we got robbed out of the last 5 or so years.
Yeah, that would be amazing. And I think a lot of great points there. And I really hope we don't have that left translated cycle where it all happens this year. I hope it is that super cycle where everything gets crazy this year and it just continues on into 2025. I'm really hoping for that. And what really makes me bullish is that Warren Buffett and Berkshire Hathaway, they should have been belly up in 2008. Warren Buffett made some horrible silver plays and he got bailed out along with JP Morgan. And if you know what happens, it's criminal. So he should have been gone, out of play, non-existent. But here he is now, and his company doesn't pay taxes. Berkshire Hathaway does not pay tax. How is that possible? I don't know. But people were screaming that, oh, he's late to Apple. He's late to Apple at $22. And what happened? Berkshire Hathaway bought Apple. Went to about $200. So he wasn't late. Anything Berkshire Hathaway buys, it goes up after. And I am hearing rumors that the $1.3 billion buy that came in a week or 10 days ago was Berkshire Hathaway. So now they're FOMOing in at 50K. And then that's when we started ripping after that buy. That's where we took off. So they're coming in at 50. They're not in this to lose money. They're in this to drive it up to 250, 500.
Yeah,
and
man.
Asset that is finite that they're coming after.
Oh, yeah. I've been looking at the supply dynamics on Bitcoin now lately. It's fun to watch now because, like, look, we're seeing all-time lows on Bitcoin balances on exchanges. They're actually having to go to the liquidity pools to source wrapped Bitcoin because it's in Ether because it's so scarce at this point. They just can't get it at these prices. So the only way that you can get it is it's a win-win for the buyers because they get to push the price up and get supply on the way up. And at every level, more and more people will dump off the higher it goes. And so they'll get more supply, but they'll be able to drive it so much higher on that process. And I know this is true because I founded a coin that did a 2.2 billion X against Pulse. I call it the most efficient coin in history because it did that on only like $2 million of trading volume. It's like, well, how's that possible? Well, it's because you had the really skilled market makers, using the liquidity and the supply dynamics to benefit the holders. And you got the same situation again where the amount of buying coming in is outpacing the amount of newly mined Bitcoin that can be produced. And you're already at record lows of on-chain exchange volume supply. And so that's just setting up for like a big supply squeeze, same as what happened with gold when its ETF launched.
And bro, when you've been around for a while, when in 2017 or 2021 or 2020 after the pandemic, when we started to pump, we hit 20K, 30K, 35K. How many people were saying, we're going to dump tomorrow? We're going to dump tomorrow. This can't last. We're going to dump tomorrow. Everybody was saying 100K, Bitcoin to 100K. And now Bitcoin has been going up since the end of 2022. We're 10% away from all-time highs. And all I've heard for the last 2 months is it's not going to last. It's going to dump. Bitcoin has to dump. It's still going to dump. So everybody's anticipating a huge dump. And when everybody's anticipating something, the opposite tends to happen.
100%.
So I think it's going to just keep running.
Yeah. I think what this is setting up for is a potential, as I'm looking at it through the eyes of a market maker, is an opportunity to push the price up harder, faster, sooner, and hit a high point where they can hit a liquidity ceiling. And what I mean by that is you can convince enough of the market to punch the price of Bitcoin in the nose hard enough to start a sideways and down spell either through the end of this year or going into the next year that can actually create a retracement that sets up for a bigger move that goes longer into the cycle. So I'm actually seeing a bigger macro longer into like 2026 potentially bull market, like double bubble, extended out over a longer period of time. Drive it up fast and hard now, hit that liquidity event, all this new Bitcoin comes on the market, pushes prices back down, sideways for 6 to 8 months, build up, buyers come back in, eat all that up. It could even be, it could be quicker. It could be quicker. And then it just pushes the cycle out farther to the right because of how much new activity there is. And the one thing that people have to keep in mind is when you have this much new demand, you can basically get this event where like, just like how this cycle's bottom on Bitcoin was minus 75%, it didn't go down to 85 or 95% this time. You're going to continue to see the volatility get squeezed out of Bitcoin because it's going to be in the best interest of the Bitcoin holders to market make a range, let's say between, I don't know, let's use a number, easy numbers, 50K to 100K. Yeah. You could market make in a range there and make a huge profit because of the amount of volume flowing inside that range.
Yep. And and they control enough of it now, and they will control enough in the next year or two. I mean, they're already, I think, surpassed Michael Saylor.
This is interesting. Thomas Anderson says here, my coworkers and friends who think crypto is stupid and scammy are now asking me if they should buy Dogecoin. This is like the first signs of retail. So it wasn't just this comment, but I've been getting in the last like week, less than a week, basically, since we broke into like when 50K was flipped to support and we started moving. I'm telling you, man, that's when retail started to notice. They always notice at the when basically all of the best gains have been had.
Yep. And bro, Doge is still the gauge that I go to when retail. We just saw all start moving AI. Deep in gaming, but nothing happened with Doge and SHIB. They did nothing. So as soon as this move happened here, I was like, okay, retail's back. It was this week, 3 days ago.
Mm-hmm. Pepe, I think started
just came back.
Yeah, Pepe started it, I think. I was just looking. It's funny because, I haven't been looking at the memes too much lately, too focused on other things that I care about. But yeah. Pepe basically came back up and hit the 618. Do you want me to share, or do you want to?
Yeah. Share your screen. I only have some bubbles and stuff up here. Oh my God, ink. Let's go.
Yeah, dude. Well, I can't wait to dive into the RH coins.
Yeah, dude.
And interestingly enough, the RH ecosystem in coins is in like its own little pocket of potential that it's outside of the other cryptocurrency. Like it's its own little bubble of possibilities. And that's going to be interesting to talk about as we get into kind of like some of these other chains like Hedera and some of the AI plays that's coming down the pipe. And this future, I can't wait to talk about that and how RH ecosystem might play a role in that. 1 second, let me get the chart up here. So what was I going to do? Pepe?
Yep, Pepe. Even on Pulsechain, bro, Pepe is up like 30%, which is great to see. So
I basically here's a linear chart on the daily. Maybe go to a 3-day because it's just cleaner and easier to see. But I took from I'll flip log on for just a second. So I'm taking this data point here, the lows to the high to the low here. And that's how I get this fib extension tool. So I'm going to pull back down and see. Let's see, where did we hit? Well, the price went and hit it kind of overshot the 618, which is right here. That's a key level that we look for in TA. It's just for viewers, it's Fibonacci is like a harmonic natural law of life on Earth. Basically, like you can look at different patterns in nature. They all follow a certain harmonic, and so human psychology is of nature, and markets are made of human psychology. So thus, you get certain patterns that play out in price charts the same way as you get in nature. And that's how that Fibonacci concept works very, very briefly. However, typically on like a punch up to see it, a coin that's going to survive in crypto, it's going to hit the 618 when it comes back up on the fib extension. So in the case of Pepe, it hit it now, and it's on a pull down from that area, but it did it before we got it on SHIB and on Doge. So like, let's take a look at those ones.
Yep.
So here,
Pepe kind of front running the memes. Pepe and Bonk right now kind of taking over. Shib and Doge as the front runners. It looks like.
yep. And so then there's the low to the high to the low. And here we are. We haven't even broken out of the red zone yet. Here, the 618's clear up here for Shib. So, I mean, Shib's got, if one meme's going to pump, they're all going to pump, but they're going to pump in a sequence, like one right after the other after the other. So this is getting ready to, it's sticking the toe in the water. It's got like a 4.5x in it to catch up to Pepe. So Pepe, it made like higher lows, like low, higher low, wick low, ate the wick, double bottom, boom. And it came up here to the 618 on the fib extension. Shib, it's just started making higher lows. Here's your low, higher low, higher low. It's just getting ready to, make that first leg up. And let's see if it happens like Pepe, you get this first puncturing of the 236, the red to the yellow zone. So you'd get a punch up through here, something like this, and then maybe a pull down. If it's going to happen in the same way, it doesn't have to, and then another leg up to the 618. So I mean, you could tell that it's gearing up. And I was telling one of my members today, like, if it's either they're all going to move or they're not, because it's crypto moves like in sectors. So like, if the narrative is memes, they're all going to move. That anyone with any weight, right? At this point in the cycle.
They're rotating, but you can already see it. If you go look at the ball, Pepe's now down 14%, while Bonk is up 15%, and Shib is now up. So is it going to go? Bonk. Is Pepe going to be the front runner, and then it's going to shift to Bonk, and then it's going to shift to Shib and Doge? We'll be able to tell in another.
We should make an index that just you put the 4 coins into an index and just watch the whole index rise over time.
Yeah. Yep.
Bonk Weeth, right?
Yeah.
Or is it on BNB?
I was Bonk's on BNB.
3 years and okay, BNB. So it'd be,
or sorry, Solana, not BNB.
Sol. So is its main pair Solana?
Yeah. Bonk's on the Solana phones. Yeah.
Started 1 year, 2 months ago. Does that sound right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. I'm just gonna pick the this one. This looks like the right chart, huh?
Yep, definitely.
Okay, cool. I'll save that. Okay. So yeah, so here, how do I find? Let's try to do the same analysis. Now this chart is a little bit, it looks a little different than the other ones, but let's take that same fib extension from wick low to wick high, and then find the bottom here. And I don't know, flip off log. So this one already hit the 382, and so yeah, you're right that the Pepe went to the 618 first. It looks like that is rotating out to here to Bonk. Bonk has got a little more left in the tank if it wants to copy what Pepe did. And then, it looks like they're rotating from one to the next here.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that funny? You could tell, and we were here talking about utility cryptos and the stuff that matters, but people are making a shitload in the meme still. You got to love it.
Isn't that crazy? I didn't like it last cycle. I felt kind of like violated a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you saw that feeling of like doing that doesn't seem right. But dude, we don't live in a world of real valuations anymore. That's just not the world we live in. It's because so much damn money has been printed. Money has less meaning, unfortunately.
Yep. That's what crypto hopefully will solve, is it makes a better money. It hopefully fixes this zero-sum game we're all in, where you trade away your 60 hours a week now of labor and for a deflating currency. What if you could go to work and choose the crypto you wanted to be paying, and you paid it and you knew it would increase in value over time?
Yeah.
Flip changes everything.
Dude, I love the vision that you and Lindsay have, and some of the other guys that you work with. The verse comes to mind. Like, Lindsay's, I got to say this so she knows, Lindsay's speech at the HEX conference this year was so powerful. And she was so into it and passionate, and like you could feel her genuine care radiating through the screen, and it hit me. Like, it's like, wow, that's really powerful. So you have someone really special there that this space needs. We need more people like Lindsay. for sure. So I hope she hears that loud and clear. But the here we got Doge. So Doge is like in the same area as SHIB, right? So SHIB and Doge down here in the middle of the red zone. I'm gonna probably copy and do the same thing.
I love it. And then we can learn from this. It's like, all right, we this is brand new. There are now 4 memes that are in the mainstream. Let's see what the rotation is. And then if we get a pullback and we get a little kind of a bearish summer, and then we know, all right, once the memes start to go again, now we know we can kind of play the rotation, see how long it lasted. And, history doesn't repeat, but it often rhymes.
100%. And so if you can learn from these 4 meme coins and start tracking these on your own and watching these rotations, you can apply that same logic to other sectors of crypto, right? So we can take it and look at all kinds of coins. I mean, maybe this would be a good time. Well, maybe let's talk a little bit about some of the things that you're seeing coming. I'll just keep my screen. I'll pull it down, but I'll just keep it in the background.
Yeah. Yeah, bro. So I think the narratives right now are for sure AI, gaming, and this decentralized infrastructure and decentralized storage. I think it is really big. And some of these projects that we found have been really ripping. GPU, that Node AI is already up 6 or 7x since we found it. But there's a couple gems one that's launching in a couple weeks. It's called Aether. And you can get into the pre-sale for this. And Impossible Finance is the website you got to go to. And they have a coin too. And you got to buy that coin and stake it. It's only like 8 cents or 9 cents. Like, we're super early to this stuff. And these are, I'm not trying to buy stuff right now that has launched and has already pumped. I'm looking for the new stuff that is going to come out and compete with Tau and potentially be the next Tau that comes out. We saw that. I mean, I felt like I was late at $50 to Tau, and I was like, no, I missed it. And now looking back, it's like, did I really miss it? So I think there's seeing the success of that and the massive problem that they have with how much energy AI burns or how much energy Bitcoin uses, and it just wastes, where you could be using a lot of that computing power, a lot of that mining power, and putting it towards constructive AI and stuff that actually is learning and a net positive. Mm-hmm. So that's what this coin I've been looking at, AI Power Grid, the ticker's AIPG. That's what they're doing, is they're trying to decentralize the AI, and instead of you using ChatGPT that's censored and it's just not real anymore, they're trying to give a different option, a better option that people can build on top of, for artists to give, AI renderings and cartoons and that type stuff. And they're trying to use, it's a new concept called proof of useful work, where you're not wasting like Bitcoin. And, it's just a cool concept, and it's a small market cap. And the other one too is Storage Coin that I've been looking at. And I think there's something special here with the founder, the CEO of this company. It's under $1 million market cap. It just launched, I think, a month or so ago. And these are the opportunities. Filecoin is starting to pump. Arweave just pumped like crazy. So you're starting to see what narratives are coming back again this cycle. And now to start to front run the new projects and get into them before they start becoming household names. And the thing that I like about these, and even Cubic is the other one, I didn't pull it up here tonight, but I think that has a potential too to come for Tau. And they do things differently with their supply and how it is extremely deflationary. But it's hard to get these coins, and there's only a couple exchanges you can get them on. And Trade Ogre is the one that I would go to. Yeah.
Dude, I remember that thing from forever ago. It looks like an old website, but yeah.
Dude, it looks like you're on like MS-DOS or something.
Yeah.
But
that's funny.
You don't
that's
have
where all the
KYC.
Opportunity is, man.
Exactly, bro. You don't need to KYC. You start an account, put your email address in, two-factor, and you can send in Tether, Bitcoin, whatever, swap out and withdraw instantly.
Yeah, and I
And
think
they
just a
have-
good rule of thumb, your viewing audience probably already knows this, but if anybody else is coming in here, like when you come onto an exchange, you're on and you're off. You get in, you get the coins you want, and you get off. Like, don't leave your stuff sitting on here.
Exactly, bro. The cardinal rule, and that's what you do. You know, if you know what coins you're looking for, I got Cubic on here, and I got AI Power Grid. So we set up the wallets before we purchased the coins, made sure they were good to go. So as soon as we did it, you can just withdraw and get it right off. And I don't think multiple people have used this, and I don't think it's more than a half an hour to get money off.
Yeah, I've used it back in 17, I think, or 18. Nice. It might have been 2018 I was using Trade Ogre. I forget which coin. I think it would have been Bitcoin Private or some other like obscure coin. I don't remember, but yeah. I got a history with weird exchanges.
Oh, you did. This is honestly, this is where the opportunity is. When you look at some of these coins, they're only listed on the Trade Ogre and like the EGX, or it's like Partner Exchange or SafeX, I think is the name of it. And they look shady as hell, but you know what? That's all right. If you can get them on and off, that's where the opportunity is, in my opinion. So I really like these. You know, check out impossible.finance. And you can just go to the IDO pad here, and there's a bunch of projects that they've launched. You can look at them. They're a bunch of financial projects. And I just think there's some potential opportunity here in that AI and deep hin narrative.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I'm going to be honest with everyone that I'm very conservative in my own investment thesis, and I know how high the Richard Hart coins are going to go this cycle. And so for me and for my needs and stuff, like I am heavily in that stuff. And I like the setup right now on things like incentive tokens. So I think it's a good time and opportunity. And I personally am not diversifying out. My whole spiel is conviction is the cure to dilution, because I am interested personally in hoarding as much of those coins as possible until the cycle top. And then I would look at diversification at the bottom of the next bear. However, if you're like some of the guys in my group, or if you're like the Vibra guys, like there is opportunity to multiply the native coins that you like by taking like positions in these other things. So it's kind of based on your investment style, which way you're going to go. And, Adam's hit the nail on the head on a lot of these already. He's up to like 20x on one of these things recently, and that's just one of them. Another one, I think you said, dropped like 5x. It's like you have a tendency to find them early, and it's at that right point in the cycle where you just got to kind of take the nod and get in, and then get the ripper off of it, and then you could take out your initial and put that back in your core, stuff like that. You got any comments on any of that?
No, bro, that's really well said. And I would never be looking at these coins or degenning into them if I wasn't happy with my Richard Hart plays, if I didn't have all my HEX stakes completed, if I didn't hit my goals of where I wanted to be with Pulsechain and PulseX and my liquid HEX at this time, I would never be doing that. But we smashed it this cycle, from PDI and Atropa, and then PTGC and Alien. I got
an active trade on PTGC right now. That thing's been killing it. We got in at our group got in at 0.08 PLS per. So since that level, since a lot of us got in, the price is up 700%. So we're at 8x move. Here, I'll throw it up. Or actually, you have to throw it up.
There you go.
Yeah, so like this is where we took the trade on PTGC, and there's some of the coins that you just mentioned, like they've been crazy potential. So I'll just kind of explain the process. So this is where we went long at the breakout of this downtrend. So you had resistance. You came up here and you tested this, and at this breakout level is where I kind of was like, all right, this looks really, really good. And the reason was because bull cross on the MACD, bullish cross on the stochastic RSI, which measures the momentum, double bottom on the RSI with a positive slope. So you got check number 1, check number 2, check number 3 at the breakout, So that's like a perfect setup. There's like you don't see this much confluence of data and not take a trade here. So we just took the trade, and I'm like, just hang on to it because everything is like gold. And then it rolled over, and I had no worries because this sell-off was so slow. It wasn't like a big nuke that just got up here and then boom, it nuked down. It took time, and like this stochastic got up above the 80, so it just was on a cool off phase. And when it came down here to do its second bull cross, like it was at a higher low, higher low. It respected the technicals. So we've been in that trade, all the way through here to some degree or another. And look, there's a lot of opportunity on Pulsechain. It seems like every other day there's something happening. And this would just happen to be one of them.
Yeah, bro. Like, there's a couple guys in the Discord that we got in like October 11th or 12th. I mean, they're up 400 something X, and like Alien is now.
Yeah, you guys have a tendency to beat early.
We got into this at 40K. Goo God was setting the price on this thing when it was chopping up there.
October.
Yeah, look at
4th?
Goo got 700X on PTGC and 400X on Alien already.
That's crazy.
Because Alien was the airdrop for PTGC stakers, so you got it just for having PTGC staked.
That's crazy. And the thing about this particular coin that's makes it extra juicy is that 6% tax actually is building up the liquidity, so you have something to sell into in the future. It's like constantly growing the liquidity pools, and you're not reliant on any one particular person to market make it. It's going to take care of itself in that way, and I think that's a really powerful thing. And if you want my honest opinion, I think that if your coin doesn't either have some form of a buy and burn, don't be like Titan X and have to make your whole model about buy and burn. Like if you're burning 67% of the supply, what does that really say about the value of the coin? It's like, oh, it's so valuable, I'm going to burn over half of it. Like what? It doesn't even make any sense. Let's make all this supply just to burn it all away. Like I don't get it, but but this one here has got like a nice steady growth pattern. It's got the liquidity pools are growing proportionally to people coming in and going out. And if your coin doesn't have some form of a buy and burn and some form of a liquidity mechanism, I'll just leave it at that because it could look different for different coins. You're relying on the founder or a big market maker in the coin to do the work for you. And that's not always a for sure bet. So you better believe in that coin if you're going to be in that kind of a coin.
But so do you remember in 2020, when DeFi summer was happening? Like I remember it. I remember, with a couple trips we went on that summer and like bringing my laptop and my ledger with me. The cardinal rule, don't travel with your ledger. Well, I did it last cycle, being the ultimate Degen, and we didn't even realize that DeFi summer HEX was creating it with Uniswap. And now looking back on it, we all say that. I think right now, what's happening over here with the way DeFi is happening, with all these reflection coins, and just you're seeing what Sunny's doing, what Coach is doing, with PDI and Atropa. If we could have a stable coin, a decentralized stable coin, and then we have PUSD, an algorithmic stable coin that's pegged, and the whales start backing. I mean, I'm so bullish on the potential of some of these projects.
If you don't mind, let's
sleeping on.
Let's look into that for a second. I'll just take people through this post that I did. I went into the Atropa. So I'm sure a lot of your audience already gets this stuff to the core, but it's fun to review anyway. I did a post here. I went into the Sunny's Pub, and I sniped up Ben Potvin and Freedom 777 out of there to like basically feed me information on what's going on with the Maria, the dev on the Atropa contract. And they basically described it as that this dev is trying to create a burnt liquidity floor, which means it's PLP tokens that represent two coins in a pair that gets burned away forever. And that you basically build up this huge liquidity floor that's been burned away that nobody can ever access, so that it just grows and grows and grows. And it rises the floor up so that there's always this bare bottom floor that's always building up with value. And the goal here was that it's supposed to be a $20 billion burnt liquidity floor. It's to make this like unshakable foundation in the Pulsechain price valuations. Pretty novel concept if you think about it. And so then
it's brilliant.
So then it goes on to say like this is going to be a vast liquidity network where bots get to arbitrage the different prices in the pools, which if you factor in things like tax tokens and other things, they will also benefit by building their own liquidity pools due to the arbitrage between bots as well. And this actually it enhances and amplifies this effect of burning up all this liquidity and creating more value for the users. And it's like value conservation, opposite from value extraction. It's value conservation for the whole rather than the individual. And so it kind of patches up all those leaky holes of like hex, like for example, a hex shark that was a bad actor, a predatory type of person that just milked the T-share system for all of the supply it could while it had the coins, and then just nuked the price for years. Like that, this is kind of a way of patching up a lot of those loose ends. And obviously a lot of those guys have gotten out of the system anyway. But anyway, he goes down to say that Maria is also trying to gamify these liquidity networks with an app potentially, and it's rumored that he's going to create a new encrypted communication network. Now that's all hearsay, but then it actually goes even further and says that there's something called the Trebizond Treasury. Now, do you know anything about this Trebizond Treasury?
No, bro. I don't. Chris is the one that pays attention. He's tight with Sonny and 9iron and Coach and Hodlnomics. So he's the one I go to for the alpha here. But no, I personally haven't been paying attention to really Atropa or PDI anymore.
Yeah, and you know, so the thoughts on this is that this Trebizond Treasury holds like a massive stake of Atropa tokens, and somebody asked if he would sell to Richard Hart. He said if they'd offer up the Trebizond Treasury to Richard Hart, he said, of course. The owner of the Trebizond Treasury also said that it could be in charge of payroll, among other things. It could also be there are also claimed to be financial instruments in the ecosystem like the First Pulse mutual bond and whatever this is, the Japanese teddy bear. So, you know, there's a potential there for this to be this giant treasury, that the side of it that's not burned away, that could be used for different things down the road as well. And he said that if Richard Hart were to purchase the Trebizond, he'd basically have the world's best blockchain with the world's first counterparty-less CD and decentralized capital markets that have the most burned liquidity token value in all of crypto, which that would end up being true based on the valuations of all this stuff. So it's pretty cool. I mean, if you want to go check out this article, it's on accesslive.com under the news logs. You just have to sign up. It's free. I go on to like talk about nested LP circuits and how liquidity pairs can reinforce each other, and you can create these things called nested LPs. And then we go on to talk about how the mathematics of it is kind of like chimatology, which is the study of wave motion between gases, liquids, and plasmas, and how energy is displaced and transferred over time. And how Freedom 77 thinks that this is how economic energy is being transferred through these decentralized financial networks over time as well. And that's why you get, with Bitcoin, you have this like really long cycle that's endless, basically, of let me see if I can put this on log. You just get this like super and a forever up against the dollar. Basically, this, you could think of it like a sine wave that just goes up and to the right forever. And you know, where does that go in the end? Well, eventually it'll look flat, right? Because all the volatility gets squeezed out of it, and dollars will have no meaning anymore because of the limited supply of Bitcoin and how valuable it is. Just paper dollars just won't have value against something so scarce. But that this is similar to economic energy flowing in and out of. It's basically like I was saying before, energy displacement, which is why you get this like sine wave thing. Anyway, kind of cool concepts. Definitely, if you want to learn more about that, go check out that article.
It's happening again. Like when our coach was on stream a couple weeks ago, and we were going through some pairs on Dex tools with PTGC and Hex and PTGC and just random coins, and there was $500-600 in volume every 24 hours, and there wasn't a human transaction in the pair in months. So these pairs were just creating and generating all this volume with no human transaction. So it's fascinating to see.
And that's what centralized exchanges are doing as well, but except that they're directly benefiting from the gains. So they're profiting on the bots doing that. And the difference here is that the whole DeFi world benefits when you create these burnt liquidity networks. So cool, man. DeFi
really
opens a whole new possibility.
Yep. And bro, I've been hearing a lot about like, you know, where did de-dollarization come from? I'd never heard of that word in my entire life. And I've been paying attention to crypto and economics the last 4 or 5 years a lot. And when I saw that come around, I was like, you know, this has to be a spell or the complete opposite. Because the petrodollar, it was convenient timing. The petrodollar was on its way out. Oh, de-dollarization now, petrodollar gone. Oh God, what are we going to do? Well, if the dollar starts to collapse, every other currency around the world is going to collapse at a faster rate.
Yep.
So people are going to need the dollar more than ever.
Yep.
And what better way than stable coins to physically everybody wants a stable dollar. And if they can't get cash, give them Tether or give them USDC. And what a way to keep the dollar in need in every single country in the world through stable coins. And I just saw 70% of all crypto transactions are done with stable coins. So that just shows me right there. It's like, holy shit, if that ratio stays up, the dollar isn't going anywhere.
Yep. I'm with you on that. And I have a couple. So to the point about if the dollar gets hit, everything else gets hit worse. That's true. So this is the dollar index, and it's been in a parabola since 2008. So the dollars, you know, everyone talks about, oh, the dollar's going down, the dollar's going down. The price of the dollar relative to other nation state currencies has actually done nothing but go up.
Yeah.
Since 2008. So what does that really mean? That means that dollars are more in demand now than they've ever been. You know, or at least the value of it is holding better than other countries. And that's based on the Japanese yen, the euro, the Great British pound, the Swiss franc, I think there's 2 more in there that I'm missing. And basically is how you get this valuation. There's another element to this under the hood that we can't see in this chart, which is the global liquidity, which changes how this moves over time. But I will say that during these periods where the dollar does go down in value, that is when crypto takes its lead. That is when crypto becomes the new asset class, the new storage of value on the block. And you can see it in things like, what I mean is like, yeah, Bitcoin is volatile and it's scary, but even in the downsides, it always creates a higher floor. And this is what stability looks like is, yeah, there's these crazy run-ups and rundowns and people get rich here and they get wrecked here. But ultimately, it's storing value better than a dollar does, even on a macro time frame. And so if you want to see how that relationship works in other currencies, well, let's take a look. Here we got the Bitcoin price. We're near the all-time highs here on the monthly, right? Against the dollar. But what happens when I take this coin and I pair it up against the Argentinian peso, for example? It's broken all-time highs all the way back in March of last year because that currency is getting smoked. So this is how you get decentralization of value is ever since March of last year, those folks have been losing their ass on Argentinian pesos. But if they were holding Bitcoin, they were doing really damn good in their native currency. So they're actually gaining purchasing power while Americans are still kind of back in this zone relatively. If these guys in Argentina got Bitcoin, they're gaining on Americans because they're in their place. They denominate everything in these things, and Bitcoin's going up against those things, so they can get more goods and services inside of their economy than Americans can get with Bitcoin inside of our economy. So it's like Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is the great leveler. It levels out the playing field financially across the globe.
Yep. And it's the only finite asset out there that where's money going to go as the stock market? I mean, it's so overvalued. It's such a joke. it cannot sustain itself.
Well,
All of this is going to transition.
I'd love to tap into that when you're ready.
Yeah, it's all going to transition to the blockchain. All of finance is inevitably going there. They just can't do it right now because it exposes all of the corruption, all the scams, all the flaws, all the manipulation, all of that. So they need to do it over time and phase it in. I think that's what I think is stopping it.
Well, yeah, that and like I was saying in that previous comment earlier about how this was like a nice, clean, organic, parabolic move. And then, we had to work through this A, B, C correction, this vertical move up, the manipulation up here for the double top. This was all the crypto scam industrial complex, basically manipulating the price down, up, down, and inefficiencies in the market, and the technology wasn't there, and exchanges were backlogged, and now all that technology is online, and institutions are now taking control, which have a more measured and more strategic type of approach, and a long-term plan. So, I think now you're going to get more of like that organic move, like we got robbed out of here, basically.
Yep.
What was the other thing you said?
That everything is moving to the blockchain. Stocks are getting so volatile, and we never saw 10 years ago the volatility in the stock market. And I think it's all to just get people used to crypto, get them thinking, oh yeah, stocks and crypto, the Bitcoin's just as volatile as the stock market now. Come on, guys, and it just starts to condition people.
I'm with you, dude, and I think you got to ask what came first, the chicken or the egg, or did you get the cart before the horse, that type of thing, because is the economy is the stock market getting more volatile because of inflation, because of valuations getting out of control, because technology is erasing jobs and making certain things irrelevant? Is it because Bitcoin existed and that already had an element of volatility built in it? And so a thesis would be, here's Bitcoin gets invented here.
It's all the above.
Yeah, I think so. Ever since 2008, Bitcoin gets invented here. The stock market's only gone up and to the right, and Bitcoin's basically exposed the volatility that was already there, that was being controlled. So like back here, if I go, let's find the S&P forever. You could see how controlled this price action is inside of here. This is really controlled. Of course, there was the dot-com bubble, really controlled. Then you had 2008, really controlled. But it's getting more volatile in here than it was back in this section. And so my point is that the wheels are coming off the car while it's moving down the road, and Bitcoin exposed it because Bitcoin literally is affecting the global finance structure, because it's volatile. Yes, crypto is volatile because it's showing you the truth of a real free market. It's how a free market's supposed to move. It's supposed to go through boom and bust cycles. It's reflecting the credit and debt market that's otherwise controlled and manipulated by power structures. And you can see that really clearly in the Bitcoin versus M1 money supply chart. And so what this chart shows you is it measures the value of Bitcoin, and this is on a monthly, versus the total amount of dollars in existence. And this is the 2017 top. In terms of the total dollars that exist, Bitcoin has not made a new all-time high in almost 8 years. So yeah, this is all of the bull market cycles. Here's the bear market, 2019, COVID, last market cycle top, double top, bear market. We're just getting up there now. So this Bitcoin destroyed the old model. Look at how it just destroyed up forever. And then in 17, at the end of the year, when they put it on the CME and they could control it a little better, ever since then, they've been controlling it against them by inflating the money supply. So literally, Bitcoin's been exposing and destroying the old system, and it's replacing the old system. And by extension, all of the new networks that's going to come online, the Amazons of blockchain and all the rest of it, is going to replace this old system and these broken rails with a real
100%.
free market, capital, what capitalism was intended to be. Now, is that a good thing or a bad thing? I guess it depends on if you're paying for your milk and eggs with crypto that's down 90% or not, because that's why the dollar ain't going away, is because we need some sort of stable measure of value, or relatively stable measure of value. And I think that looks stable within like a 4-year window, and then what's stable will change in the next 4-year window. And what's stable, you know what I mean by that? Because the debasement of the dollar, the currency, and the inflation of it. But you'll get these like what you call epochs, just like how this is showing you here. You get this. This was an epoch change. This was an epoch change. Well, we haven't really had a real complete epoch change because they manipulated the money supply to the downside, and it kind of topped us out. Well, we're gonna get this. This is gonna be the real deal, I think. So if these candles start closing above here on this chart, Bitcoin's gonna start to outpace the liquidity restrictions and of the Federal Reserve, basically against the dollar here. So, kind of a bigger thought.
Didn't the Bitcoin candle, the monthly candle, just close like within the last hour?
Yeah, it did actually, because it's a leap year, so it just closed above here. So yeah, that's the first time we've got a candle. Guys, breaking news! This is being revealed on Vibra Finance. You haven't seen this chart yet. We just closed our first monthly candle above this line here since 2017 December. That's amazing. It's been 2,253 days. Let's go. Let's go. We're bringing it back.
I mean, bro, you just can't hold it. I mean, look, that's insane. If you just look at you can't hold it back 3 pumps in a row. It's not happening.
And you know why this is happening, and why you're absolutely 100% right, is because what we talked about at the beginning of the stream about the circulating supply of Bitcoin is just not there, and demand has increased by a magnitude more. So you've got a really bad supply shock that just happened, and you'd have to print a metric ass ton of dollars to reverse this, and that would be a really bad look for the Fed going into a presidential election cycle. You'd basically get this. Look, this is what they did. They in 2020 March, they inflated the money supply by a huge factor. It was 4x. It was 5x at the
right
peak.
Now. It went from 4 to like almost 21 trillion.
It's saying here that it was at 4 trillion. It got up to 20 trillion, so it was a 5x. That's crazy, and that's why is why the stock market bottomed where it did and reversed. Don't even have to think twice about that. It's just because there's too much damn money printed.
Well, right, and that they can't. That stock market, they cannot. The stock market is the one thing that they have to keep propped up, because every single person's pension, retirement, all of that is reliant on the stock market maintaining. Yep. You can't collapse the stock market like that. They will defend that at all costs.
Crazy, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Cool, man. Well, I'm glad we got to get the history lesson in, dude. This is why I got into crypto, was because of this stuff. Not to look at price charts necessarily, but because it was a way to legally print money and take my sovereignty back. That was awesome. That's why I started in Bitcoin mining back in 2017.
Yep. Dude, it feels good when once you realize what you have, and and you see that institutions and banks and hedge funds are chasing these assets. Wall Street is just now learning about altcoins and DeFi. It's like, man, we've paid all the dues, and now we get to sit back and enjoy like the fruits of our labor and just let it all happen. Just don't rotate coins right now. That's my golden rule. Once the halving comes, I'm not getting into anything unless it's a pre-sale and I can add new money to. I'm not buying any new existing coins, not rotating anything. I'm just holding and maybe adding to a position if something happens or I just need to, whatever. But I'm not making any of those mistakes from last cycle.
Yeah, man, hang on to your hats, guys, because this is the Pulsechain chart, and it is ready to freaking scream. We're going to get the second leg of the Cleveland Screamer pattern, and it's just going to go boom all the way up to the all-time high. It's there. Like this breakout candle here, you could see inside of here that this was a textbook, just a technical wonder. Ascending triangle, consolidation inside there, break above, candle close above this level, which was resistance, 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 break, close above, support, We may get a doji candle today. We may get a little bit of a wick to the upside, a little bit of a wick to the downside, but we'll close above that white line today, meaning tomorrow night at 7 p.m. And then that next candle up is going to be probably straight up here to the top of this channel, about 25%. That's what I expect. I think we're going to basically replay out similarly what we did here. And you can see that in the volume profile down here where that first green candle signaled to the market it's time. And then you basically go from take that bars fractal pattern out and size it up and see where we end up, which would be just right up in that zone with that all-time high. So yeah, we're about 3 or 4 days from the top of this channel, and if we break that and hold that, I mean, we're going to be seeing all-time highs, but by when I'm in Vegas next week, talking about passive income on Pulsechain.
What time? Oh, Richard, pump it, Richard's making everyone look good out there. What a legend!
What a legend! He is the GOAT, man.
Bro, he is, and I can't wait until the shackles are let off of him and he can be himself again. I just think he's extremely limited, and once he can come back and stream as the new humble RH, I think it's gonna send shockwaves. And that BitBoy's gonna be screaming to interview him. Ivan's gonna be dying to interview him, and it's gonna just be contagious.
You know, we forget that he was on CNBC last cycle. Like it's gonna get really big. Like he's gonna be on.
That's right.
The world stage, effectively. You know, so very excited to see this.
Charles, that's right.
Yeah. Let's see what else we got going on. PulseX ratio.
So, bro, I want to ask. So, with PulseX and Pulsechain, so what I did is I've been learning with the ratio trading, especially with Alien and 808 and Liquid and Burn, the multipliers and TGC. There's been a lot of good ratio trades to make, and with Pulse and PulseX, you know, I've been doing really well playing that ratio from like 3.7, you know, when it was that high, is swapping from Pulse into PulseX, and then I rode it back up to like 2.4, and now I'm sitting a majority in Pulsechain because I'm waiting for that PulseX, that number to drip back down towards 3, but it doesn't seem like it just seems like it's going sideways from like 2.4 to 2.6. So what do you think?
So I'll give you some hot alpha. So there's 2 ways this can play out, of course. And I'll show you the similarities. So the nice thing is it already happened, and it's just happening on a smaller time frame. So you can see the low, the higher low, double bottom, W pattern in here. Once that flipped that high volume zone here, which was signaled here by this big yellow volume bar, once that flipped to support at this point here and we broke through, that level is ancient history now. And we're basically replaying that now out in a more condensed time frame. You're getting the low, higher low, W pattern, double bottom. It's a perfect setup for a move higher. It just has to get above this red line, which is now the highest volume traded area, and flip that as support, and it's going to basically go head up to potentially the all-time high here in the ratio, which would be 2 PulseX for every 1 pulse at that level. And then I would expect a huge rejection back down to here. Yep. I think we want to see this. I think what we're all thinking at this point here was a revisit back to this level.
That's what I was waiting for too. It didn't happen. So I was like, oh shit. Which means
that the max pain is to the upside. And, you know, we're going to go up here first before we potentially come back down here, in my opinion. And I think that's on the back of PulseX needs to hit sack rate.
Yeah.
So that's that one. And then Ink, you know, if you guys, oh man, this one's so painful for a lot of people because everyone is so offsides on the Ink trade. It's just scary. This thing is going to go so much higher. This is Ink against Pulse. So this is the ratio of Ink versus Pulse. And if you go back,
what was the previous high back? Oh my God, I don't even want to see this.
Yeah, this is where it was
oh God,
320,000 pulse per Ink, and it hit a
10x,
and it hit a low of 8,400. So that was like a 97% drop. So so many people lost their Pulse and PulseX during this period to ink, and they had all that ink, and a lot of them just capitulated that ink at the lows to get back their position. So they lost on the wave down, and then they lost by selling the bottom, and now everybody's off sides because that held as support. So they got wrecked on the way down, they got wrecked on the way back up, and now they're faced with the decision of, do I buy back my ink position now? What do I do? Like do I just stay out of the ink trade? Well, a lot of people have decided that they're not going to accept that, and they're going to buy back their position here, and they're going to go into the ink farms because the APYs are absolutely insane. And so what this is going to act like is rocket fuel on ink price, and ink is actually targeting about a 2.5x higher in the ratio of Pulse versus ink. Now the PulseX pair isn't going to be as juicy because ink and PulseX were both really oversold relative to Pulse. But, the top of the channel here is 72%. So but ink is going to outperform. It's the golden child. It's the rocket fuel, the nitrous for the fuel tank. That's going to keep people incentivized to locking up more coins in LP, fiending over that reward. And it's going to perpetuate the market cycle even longer and keep things even more bullish than they otherwise would be. True to its name, incentive token is really going to be a great incentive for this market cycle.
Yeah. Well, I'm excited, bro. I was in the PulseX pool, and then once it dropped down to like a couple bucks a pair or a coin, I pulled it, and then I was sitting on my bag, and then I bought some more at like $1.50. And then once it dropped down to like 80 cents, I started like, oh shit. And then it pumped back up to $1, and I got out then. And then I'm glad I did, because I rebought at like 60 cents or somewhere close to the bottom. But now I'm wishing I like emptied the clip on ink. But it's so hard to do at the time when all you've experienced is pain, all you've experienced is downside. And you're like, all right, if I just do this, I know the second I buy ink, whatever coin I was looking at is going to take off immediately. I'm going to get stuck here holding this.
Yeah, and you were perfectly right to think that, because at this point let's go back in time. I'm going to flip this chart upside down and give you what my take was. So let's see. I was looking at this. What am I doing wrong here? I was looking at it like this. Oh, I know why. Because this is what the chart looked like back when I was looking at it like this. And I was like looking at this like, look, we could go down to 10 cents, which was up here. I was basically measuring fib extensions to the downside, and I turned in the chart upside down because I just had no clue, when this thing was going to stop. So I was like taking fib extensions. I don't know. I'm just going to give you an example like this. And then looking at the 1618 down here at 20 cents, for example, I'm like, well, 20, 10, like where are we where's this thing going to bottom?
Yeah.
Because there was no end in sight. And, you flip it back over and it looks obvious now, right?
Yep. And bro, your emotions get you, especially if you had if you made the wrong trade or you're upside down on it. You bought in months ago, and then you sold out, and then whatever you did, there's so many ways you could have fumbled it or just never thought it was going to turn around.
Yeah. So I was on the cruise here in December, and somebody asked me what I thought of ink. His price was right here before the final breakdown around 60 cents. I'm like, it doesn't look good. I'm looking at $10 for the cycle top, and I'm about to be wrong because, and I don't. And you know what? This is me admitting that I don't always get everything 100. So let me back up even further. When Pulsechain launched, about 2 days before it launched, I said I told my buddy Jason, I think ink is going to go to $1,000 a cycle, and then it launched and it went to $80. And I went into Frank Polancic's private mastermind group, and on a public call one night, I was like, our private call one night in front of like 15 or 20 people, I'm like, yeah, ink's going to go to $1,000 a cycle. And then this happened. And then down here, I started to have second thoughts.
Right.
Because I was like, ink is just like a leaky valve. And at the time, HEX was overperforming. And then after we got this move here and it started to stabilize, I'm like, oh, I was right. I just needed to wait a little longer. And now it all makes sense and everything's in perspective. And what really solidified it for me in my mind was the distribution of holders. So there's like 2 whales, 73 sharks, and like, I don't remember, 100 something dolphins or something. So there's just not that much distribution. So as long as those top holders, which are very limited, like their ink enough, and they like the endless riches approach of just putting it in the farms and out earning everybody else, then why would they be incentivized to dump in a bull market? So I'm of the belief that there's like a protectorate of ink holders that believed in it, that stuck with it, the janitors of ink that are going to own this cycle because they got all the supply at the lows because they didn't give up on it. And, good for them. That's scary.
Well deserved.
Good for them. I'm like, wow. Yeah. Very much looking forward to seeing how this all plays out.
Yeah. Hey, Ben, what do we think of the idea of max pain in the cycle? Bitcoin reaches all-time high much sooner than alts lag, and many don't reach prior all-time highs. I don't see that happening unless you're in like Tezos and like, Dash or some
the
like
old ones.
Cycle old coins. But I just don't see that happening. As soon as Bitcoin breaks its all-time high and retraces a little bit, it's game on. And we might not even need that. Bitcoin could just start chopping right now. We could get a huge alt season this month. I mean,
it seems appropriately timed.
Mm-hmm. But I just don't see that alts don't just go ballistic this cycle. I just don't. I don't know. I could be wrong.
I'm with you. No, you're right. And the reason why I think you're right is because, as we alluded to earlier in the stream, this looks a lot more like 2015 right now of a setup versus like this cycle here where it ended abruptly. This was just this was leverage vertical, like not good. I mean, it's set up for this cycle, so that was good, but this wasn't not the super cycle we all thought we were going to get. This is the super cycle because it's not got a nice clean buildup. And what do I mean by that? Well, if you take the previous fractal and you just overlay it on the price action right now, you can see the similarities here. It's literally pound for pound. First bottom. There's a little bit of a divergence here where it went up and then down, but recently it went down and then up. So you get like the Bart Simpson pattern, W pattern out of here. But before it was a new high and then a double bottom here on a wick back in 15. So there was a little bit of divergence here, but generally speaking, you could see how the fractals are oscillating in and out of each other. And you can expect that to be, now we're overperforming for the first time since the banking crisis here back in March of last year. And I think this is going to play out more like the 2015, and it's going to be a super cycle, which is going to give plenty of rocket fuel. It's just people are underestimating that this thing can go longer. It might not go, by the way, I don't think it's going to go past 250. Here's 250. I just think that it's going to extend longer. So it's going to be like a hybrid cycle where this is going to go out a little bit farther, because it's been tracking pretty good up till now. But I think there's going to be a divergence at some point where.
Yeah. I think the halving's going to be that sell the news event.
Yeah. And I mean, it might end up looking something like this where sorry, I'm getting a little crazy on you guys. Something like this where you go up, make a high somewhere in here, like let's say 80, 90,000, 100, 120,000, doesn't matter. Tops out. Let me switch colors here so it's clear. Tops out, and we get that mid-cycle lull. And we come back down and we test that on a wick. We test that 38K, which is our key support level here.
Yeah, and then everyone thinks the cycle's over
Everyone thinks it's over.
Fast cycle. Everyone gets out and then gets annihilated.
And then you get this another pump that goes, hits that 250K target like in late 25 or early to mid 26. And so like, doesn't it? I mean, it just seems appropriate. Something like this.
Yeah, bro, it does. That would literally be max pain pumping right now. Max pain, and then the having sell the news event, more pain.
Mm-hmm.
And the summer, I guess the summer lull, whatever. But the rinse out next year from now, and people thinking it's over, and then no, that was just the COVID dump.
Yep. And look, at that rate, what do you have? You just have a more extended parabolic cycle, something like this from the lows here, something like this, and it's just all clean and dandy. We just overperformed for this period because of all the ETF money and people positioning, the hedge funds positioning companies, And then this is like a second chance to buy up cheap Bitcoin before it's really that basically what happens here is there's a liquidity ceiling. There's no more coins to buy. So they're like, screw it. Let's just wait. And then the sell-off comes in and they get that liquidity that they desperately need, that Bitcoin that they desperately want. And they're like, well, let's just let it get down here and then we'll buy it all back for cheap. And then you cause a scare, you get all the supply and you send it up again. And this is exactly what happened back here.
And bro, and two, like with this was supposed to happen in 2021, but it couldn't with all of the clowns that were at the head of the industry, or that were the faces of the industry, all the leverage, all the nonsense that was going on. This could not have happened last cycle. 100%. So now I think there's no incentive to hold it back anymore. I think, and then once we have legislation that comes, I don't know, but I think that's the catalyst that sends it.
So then what does this mean for alts and how can we find signal inside of here? Well, we'd have to look to the ETH BTC pair, which is what I tend to like to look at. And that looks something like this. Let me put on a monthly so it's a little bit easier to read. But so I always say, like, you know, warning, the ETH Bitcoin gigapennant. It's been building up for 8 years now. Support.
Yeah, we just broke the Bitcoin monthly close, so shit, we got 2 8-year trends we're breaking.
Yep. Dude, isn't that crazy? The math. And then so we got resistance. This is just going to ping pong around in here a little bit longer. When you get the break of this level, I mean, the ETH could really make a big run on Bitcoin at that point. Now, it remains to be seen how that's all going to play out. That's the least clear thing that I have, but I am watching this chart like a hawk because even though I don't know how it's going to happen, I know that this is an important chart to watch. I think one thing that throws a wrench in it is, you know, does ETH become the store of value EVM network? Probably. It's just a dumb network. It's like the dumb smart network that just becomes the store of value for 1 to 2 cycles where ETH goes to 20K, let's say. And then, but that's like where everyone leverages off to extract value to bring it to other chains because, you know, they'll bring it to a parallel layer 1. They'll bring it to a layer 2. And this will be the storehouse. Just like Bitcoin is like the overall economic global storehouse of crypto for the time being. I think HEX has a shot of taking the title or at least competing with Bitcoin in some ways. But in terms of like the layer 1s, this is going to be it. And so I'm watching this pennant like a hawk.
Yeah, I'm very curious to see too. I agree with Goog out here. Is it coincidence that these are breaking out on the 8th years?
Yeah, it seems like almost like it's like a total market cap thing. So like, let's look at that once because remember we were looking at it before.
It could be a bigger cycle too, like a 12-year cycle or one of the other cycles, the 100-year cycle. There's like 8 cycles that come and go, and there's so many things you can look at.
Okay, so we got some new data. I have never pulled this chart up before, but this is our same chart from before. But instead of it being Bitcoin, it's total market cap. Now, total market cap does not capture things like Pulsechain and other obscure networks that's not being added into the equation here. But it is interesting here on the monthly that we still haven't made that same candle close above that 2017 high here. So, I mean, let's say from this level we have, which, it's a number. It means nothing, 0.12, whatever. But just looking at the geometry, like we're right there at those key. We need to start pushing off this level in terms of total market cap. And maybe ETH BTC ratio will lead the charge. I don't know. It remains to be seen. I do like that this trend is held since here. Different from the Bitcoin trend. You see how clean that is?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, definitely cool. Discovered that one with you guys for the first time.
Yep. And another month or two, we could be looking at popping through there.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to add that one to my chart list.
I could see ETH going to the 12K this cycle. I don't think that's out of reason.
Yeah, 8K was like the first main level, then 12 to 15K, and I thought that would be it. But based on 250K Bitcoin call or 241, whatever that Richard's talking about. It's like, well, now all of a sudden that changes my opinion. I think ETH can go to 20 then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
Could you imagine a $20,000 ETH?
oh my God, dude. I don't want to think about that because of what it means for my hex stakes on Ethereum.
Oh God, yeah.
But I guess if it does that, dude, then what is eHEX going to be worth?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because they're bonded by that ETH liquidity, so it's definitely going to have an impact. And I mean, I've been looking at the eHEX chart. That thing is prime for a move, man. A lot of people like to FUD it because there's $14 million of hex for sale, but I think that's just an opportunity for a whale to buy all that up. And if one guy bites first, if one guy buys 1 million, another guy buys 2 million, and you're already up in like the 1.4, 1.5 cent range, what's going to stop like the whole market from chasing and buying up the rest of that?
You open up coin bubble, you go to the bubbles right now. Hex is just smacking you in the face, up 35%, number one in the top 100. Like you can't ignore that.
Yeah, pull that up. Actually, I want to see it.
You just go right to the bubbles right here.
There you go.
Boom.
Yeah, man. And both of them too. Like, man.
Yep. And then that people like, wait, is that the same coin? A hex? When did that come out? Wait, it's the same. No, it's not the same logo. Wait, what the hell?
Right. Start asking.
Bro, oh, dude, there's so much bullishness going on in this community. PulseLaunch is coming out in 2 days. I think that's going to be an awesome project. I mean, all the influencers are on board. Everyone's talking about it. And like, this is the community. This is the chain where something like that could actually thrive, where people will go their extra way, will support new projects, support people. Like that's how we are in this community. And when people have that opportunity to support each other, they do it. We've seen it time and time again.
Yeah, it's a little different than a lot of other crypto communities. I think it can't be understated that the whole entire foundation of the whole thing is because we were all aligned by getting tricked into staking hex. It's for our own benefit, but the hex staking mechanic like aligns people's incentives to make sure that it lives a long time and appreciates in value. And that means that once you're in the cool club, like you're in the cool club. And unfortunately, in the first few years, there was this like phenomena where people would like, if you didn't understand hex, we were intolerant of it, or if you shoot it off, we were intolerant of that. I wouldn't say me personally, but the community. But that's starting to change, and because we live in like a multi-coin ecosystem now, I think the maxi mentality is fading, but that doesn't mean that you can fade hex staking because it is a super powerful tool. And people are going to find that out at the end of the cycle when all the money comes home to roost and like hex stakes. And part of that process is all the cool tools getting built on hex to like lock up more supply for longer and burn that supply away and reward the guys doing it and give them like a rebate through advanced features like borrowing Hedron against your stake, encapsulating stakes, which is coming with V2, potentially other utility built onto that. And then like the Hex 1 contract that's being built, which basically allows you to lock Hex from 10 to 15 years and borrow stablecoins against it with no risk of liquidation, which is like a whole other crazy concept that I wanted to talk about. But yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's crazy, bro. That because like it's funny how people's emotions are in crypto, especially because I would say the last like 6 weeks, just because a lot of the calls we made over the last like 6-8 months, they've been doing really well. So people see it, whatever. Oh yeah, you made a couple good calls. So when I get like DMs and stuff like, hey, what are stuff that I should be looking at or I should have? It's most people that aren't like OG hexagons or in the community. It's newer guys that find the channel or subscribe. And I tell every one of them, make sure you create a hex staking ladder for you. If you have kids, create one for your kids and do it now before this race, before the rate is at 40, 50, 100,000 where it's going to be next cycle, because we're looking at a sub $300 T-share This is not going to last. And I actually just went and created new stakes in the last week. And I was on stream 4 or 5 months ago being like, I ain't staking shit for the time being. Screw staking.
Yep.
There's so much more money in this other stuff right now. But it's funny how that swings back around. That you say, oh, God, if I don't make these now, I'm going to be priced out. And especially new people who are starting to listen, I've been shilling them all, and I'm getting no pushback on it.
Yeah.
Which is the crazy thing.
That's good, man. And like, you can always say, look, if you're making all these side trades and making all this money, then where's the harm in locking a portion of that profit up for 15 years and earning anywhere from 500% on the low end to as high as 2,000% on the high end, based on how the T-share rate plays out over time. Right now, you're getting the low estimate is that you'll make about 500% more hex, more units of cryptocurrency. You know how hard it is to 6x your cryptocurrency stack? You basically have to sell the market cycle bottom, or buy the market cycle bottom, sell the market cycle top, and then, God, what am I saying? Buy the low, sell the high,
and ratio trade the whole time.
And there's an element of luck there and skill, and it's a lot of work. But if you just set yourself up with, $1,000 today for 15 years, and the price goes to $1, you 100x on the price, and then you 5x that number in the amount of units. So now you 500x.
Yeah,
it's like one day it's going to click for people that you can actually buy the Bitcoin mining hardware and the coin at the same time. It just hasn't clicked yet.
No, I know, dude. It's clicked for me in the last 6 months. I mean, the hex staking, how it really does save yourself, and how you go when you go from looking like I made my 555 stakes, and your portfolio, everything's pumping, you look like a genius, I'm gonna be set for life, and then halfway through the bear market, you become suicidal, and you wonder why the hell you even staked. And then it's that complete range of emotions. But at the end of the day, we're starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Once Richard gets through this SEC nonsense, once the Coin Gecko and the Coin Market Cap, third page nonsense goes away, and the Uniswap and Hex, all that stuff is going to eventually go away. He's going to start to be on Crypto Banner, on Ivan streams, with BitBoy, with influencers, getting around, and the new Richard, not this scam artist that everyone thinks is there. So, bro, it's all upside, like all upside everywhere I look.
Mm-hmm. God, I'm so excited, brother. Can't wait. Well, you think this is a good area to
wrap? Bro, this is a good place to cut it off here. I got to, I actually got a call. I got to jump on at 9. Yeah. And actually, that other stream. That's right. And the stream at 9:30, the Degen stream. Man, the bull market must be here.
Yeah, no kidding. I haven't stopped today. So, hey, appreciate you, man. You and Lindsay kick ass. Can't wait to see you guys at a meetup this year, and we'll see you on another stream soon.
Yeah, bro. Appreciate you coming by. Everyone all you guys are definitely following Axis by now. I don't even need to say it. So appreciate everyone that was here. And 9:30 tonight, I'll be on with the Verse, Degen, Gem Hunter, my man Goo God, and Coach. So look forward to that. We'll see you guys on the next one.